right, we're back. I'm host Mike Wahle. This is Block Party. We're doing a preview show. We got the Packers versus the Panthers. I think it's a 12.5 point spread for our boys in green and gold. Look, here's the deal. The Panthers we'll get to the tape as we always do. Here, real quick, this Panthers offense, the big news is the running back Rico Dowdle. He just showed up kind of out of nowhere, had a couple 200-yard games and replacing an injured Chuba Hubbard. Chuba's back, but I think they're going to really continue to evolve that offense around Rico and his talents. I'm going to show you on tape. He's a very, very good player. These guys are only averaging 19.3 points per game. They're averaging like 140 yards per game rushing, though, and a lot of that has come in the last 3-4 games. So one thing to watch, this team is 26th in the turnover margin. We don't know if Bryce Young, last year's first pick in the draft, is going to play. If not, the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, is on tape. He does struggle last week, but every new game is a new opportunity to compete. So we'll see what that looks like. I like their offensive line. I like their running game. I think they're getting to be a more fun team to watch once they have that Rico Dowdle. Obviously, Xavier Legette outside, McMillan coming in, first round pick this year. Very, very talented, but very, very young. Defensively, I'm telling you guys, if the Packers team ever wanted to get better on the ground, this is the week to do it. Last week, they gave up 245 yards rushing to the Buffalo Bills, 7 yards a carry. I'm going to show you a reel right now. Every damn play is a highlight tape. And what you're going to notice, D tackles are getting reached. People are getting stuck on blocks. You're able to drive your hips through and just continue on your tracks if you're an offensive lineman, if you're a tight end. And they're doing a lot of 12 and 22 personnel, a lot of under center stuff, all the stuff that we talk about here just being – in love with since, back in the 90s. Hopefully we can see some more of that with the Green Bay Packers. This is a fun tape just because there is all kinds of ground game all over the film. Enjoy it. We'll get back at the end with a little recap. 240 yards on the ground to the Bills, 7 yards a carry. And the one thing that stands out, and this is great for Packer fans if they're thinking about, let me rephrase that. If the Green Bay Packers want to establish a running game this week, then they should be watching this tape and going, okay, we see the formula. These D tackles get, particularly Wharton 99, they get reached. They do a poor job of filling lanes. They miss tackles. There's a lot of under center on here, which we've talked about at length on all the shows I've been on over the last couple of weeks, and at least from alignment's perspective, what the immediate effectiveness is for the Packers. Josh Jacobs, obviously the play action stuff with Jordan Love off of that. But let's just take a look at these, and it's going to feel like you're on a Rolodex of just big plays here. But you just see everybody gets covered up. I mean, just at the base level, the Bills offensive line, the Bills offense, Josh Allen, they're great. But at base level, you're just covering up guys. 99, we're talking here. This matchup here, that's it. Everybody is getting reached here. And then we just got, because of that, you just have these really fantastic angles coming around and making safety or corner play. I mean, you just got fantastic angles through. And if it's basically like there's always somebody that's disadvantaged. If the center here can get, well, I mean, you're looking at 3-tech, but if the center can get to 56, you're in incredible shape here. One thing you notice is it felt like there was a lot of guessing. You just see at the point here, I mean, you should never get reached that easy as a wide 3-tech. And then you'll just watch 56, the linebacker with the center. He just kind of has to play the guessing game. As we know, the Bills like to run a ton of under center stuff. They like to use multiple tight ends. And really, to be honest, the way that the defense lines up, they have a 3-4 defense as out of base. The way they line up with their outside linebackers, you just feel good about the matchups on the outside. And you can just see from the tape, even when there's not a surge, there's a definite cover-up. Again, the Bills offensive line just look like all pros. Just highlight this matchup again. So this is a really good job of using motion to get the linebacker backside of the center here, so the center has a reasonable block. But we're going to just highlight this guy again and how his inability to not get reached allows just this wave of people to come through. As we go back, the center's going to get up. And you have difficult blocks here. Like these are look, square base right here. Let me just erase some of this stuff. Square base right here, you feel good about as far as being able to get there. He's not going to penetrate. He's going to run. Obviously, this under center, we talked about it before, it puts that back somewhere around 6.5, 7 yards in the backfield, hits it relatively quick, certainly faster than he would be if he was in pistol. We watch the toss here. They go motion. 56 gets back, so the center's got a good angle, and then just look at the wave. I mean, it really comes down to, and they have Derek Brown on the other side, 95, and he's a great player. But speed kills here. The left guard makes a fantastic play. Somehow, again, it feels like 99 almost guesses wrong here at the apex point. And they just get wave after wave after wave of people of just, hats on hats. And this is they're like 26th or 28th in sacks. I just put this on here because, this is the only real time you see a lot of pressure in this game right off the snap. It's just the Bills do something, just make the wrong call here. I love highlighting this guy, man. Like he's a great player, man. Look at that set. He's just casual. He's like, I'm 350 pounds. I can freaking move. I dare you to hit me. Look at this. Unbelievable. It's casual. He's got a great get off, man. And the split that Deion Dawkins uses something different. But we're talking about the Panthers today. They go back to their traditional 3-4. Again, they're looking at 22 personnel, which you don't see a lot. But, man, this is why I think if you're an old head, you love seeing this stuff. This is, wing right tight near, and they just run toss out of the under center eye, and it's gonzo. And there's a couple plays. We've shown 3 already. It's just a question of, and Derek Brown's out here, and he's a great football player, but you just feel like you've got good angles. They've overloaded the side, but they're still relatively balanced. Like these guys, we say relatively balanced. These guys in particular, they're split to win here. Right? They've taken some keys to winning here as far as getting a little bit play side because of the number of extra players they have over here on our left. The offense is right. But you feel really good about, when you're drawing things up, there's always this do you feel good about your angles or not? And they've created an extended bubble. Can't see it out here outside these titles, but you feel good about that lane. You feel good about being able to get up here. You feel good about leading through. There's, you got a safety, you got an outside linebacker. You feel good about all of these, and then it's like, okay, can this guy get through on the toss, which is not a handoff, which happens and hits faster. So you just feel good. If you're a scheme guy, you feel good about these angles. So the right guard, right tackle going all the way to the backside guard because that fullback can take care of the Mike in the hole or the tight end. And they just don't, it's almost like they have an extra man on the field. 3rd and 10 play here. They go motion out. Think about it. If you just want to run Josh Allen or, Jordan Love sees this, you go like, oh, maybe, that knock about, I remember when we played Miami Dolphins. I was down in Miami. We played the Buffalo Bills the first game, one of the first games Josh Allen was going to play. And, of course, he shows up on the sideline. You're like, is that a quarterback? He's a monster. He looks like a tight end. And he ran for more yards against us than he threw for. But I think I can't remember if we won the game or not, but everyone was walking away like, Jesus H. And now, look, he's so good at passing now. They're like, just go ahead and run it, man, please. So they got the deep over. This is really just kind of a trail route, so they get to the top here. These are, routes that we can run. You get some sort of clear out here. And they'll get the 15-yard dig here, and they're going to throw it to this empty space. Josh Allen's a phenomenal quarterback, obviously. These are plays that are in our playbook. And because the Panthers are going man, it's a long ways to run if you're that slot nickel. 2nd and 16 player. I just put this in. It's fun to watch. Josh Allen's a freak. Nope. Nope. The Panthers, it felt like one of those games as you watch the whole thing through on tape, like chronologically, just, it's like some point you start losing belief. Okay, so we got 21 personnel, and you're out the gate. I'll show you the flip at the end here, but they're in their 3-4, and again, they're stepping to win here at the linebacker position. They're gonna have to come back in with the motion. Talking about we're going across with a tight end, but you're still in that. You started in a near right, and now you're going to go to a far left, and they're just running just a simple 93 lead play with a fullback inserting from the backside. And it's crazy sometimes how you just know things are going to work, right? Like, this isn't the best block play in the world, but 99 shows up again as, he's actually winning. He's starting to win here. They're all going to slant this way. Bringing a guy off the edge here, number 8. I can't see his number. But they're in positions to win. They don't make the play. He holds up. It's funny, like, and this happened. We've seen this a couple times here. He wins right here. We're talking about 99, and then he stops. It's like he's reading it. Like, what are you reading, man? Go. I mean, hope he does that this week. See, 32's angle is just tough. This is why sometimes you insert this play from the backside with that fullback. So when you see this linebacker fill the hole, the angle for the kick out is so that there's going to be this natural crease as long as the guard can hold that D tackle. And what happens otherwise, let's say this guy's over here, right? He comes down, bang, bang. It's just a straight shot hole. Maybe they're squared up, and now that running back gets here and he's like, what do I got to do before I pick a side? This is really clear. As long as this guard, there's a lot of stuff on the screen there, but as long as this guard can keep any kind of, on that down block, and he does a great job with 97 here because 97's stunting out. Does a good job of keeping that. Really just turns into an ace. A little vet move here. Little vet move right there with the old arm bar. But pops it through. Another missed tackle in the hole. Little flip. We got trips. We got a hipped off tight end. You're motioning to 2x2. And they're just going to run a little stick arrow on the top of the screen here. Another missed tackle. I mean, just scoring in bunches. This game was a joke. Sometimes you watch these games, you obviously expect these guys to bounce back and play better. They were playing better earlier in the season. I don't know if it's because the quarterback's out and it just kind of affects the whole team. You never know, but look how many yards there are just before contact here, really. Okay, so they're in their nickel with 11 personnel, and I'm telling you guys, it's the little things. Look at this. Double team. Look at the movement that happens here and how it affects this guy. Look at 99 just gets shoved into 56. Force patient, makes a play. I mean, it's a good ball. Now they're back in 12. Oh, that's 22, excuse me. God, I love this Bills offense, man. Under center, 22 personnel, all the day. And they show, with the big fella 41 coming across, they're showing kind of like a lead toss play, and they just run it right up in here. And all they're trying to do is make it so they can occupy this player. Now, of course, the Panthers, you go, are you guys playing a 2-shell against 22 personnel? Like, you trying to lose? It looks like you're trying to lose a football game, quite frankly. I mean, I don't know a lot of teams that are running 22 personnel and seeing too high, but Matt LaFleur said a couple weeks ago, hey guys, we can't run against too high, we got a problem, right? Well, if you can't run against these guys in too high, you got a real problem. Let's watch Derek Brown here, 95 out of Auburn. first round draft pick a couple years ago. Great football player. You haven't heard his name. Listen, when you have a bad team, that's how it happens sometimes. I haven't really, to be honest with you, I didn't follow much last year. But it happens so fast. This is why I love under center so much. You take the downhill and bang at the handoff. Handoff, you're at 5 yards from the line of scrimmage downhill. Not a full head of steam yet, but I mean, it's pretty obvious just looking at what we've got here. Backside guy doesn't even get blocked, but you're basically like, hey, I'm a great player. I'm going to run through this arm tackle. We'll try to beat this guy in the backside. Ends up working. There's just what's the word I'm looking for? There's just not a suddenness, but there's just such a direct line, I think, from under center. It's just so obvious. Maybe it's just the demeanor of the back coming downhill instead of stepping sideways necessarily with the shuffle stuff or the across the ball when we're talking about like the shotgun looks. You watch this toss play, like he's going towards the line of scrimmage. And they're back in that 22 under center personnel, 22 personnel under center look, excuse me. And it's out the gate. And listen, when it rains, it pours, obviously, right? But, these plays this is like 1990s, 2000s football, man. This is not hard. And we talked about these guys being a little bit plus to win. Obviously, if you're trying to run backside here, what do I mean by that? Like, if you're trying to go backside here with these angles, that back, like, play's not great. I mean, like, it's almost like, way to go, Panthers got it covered here on the weak side, so we're going to force them to run over here. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys at or near the line of scrimmage. And in this box, maybe half, 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. There's a guy outside here that, really isn't a player that, your second string, third string linebacker, you feel pretty good about he's going to win that matchup. And they do. Obviously some nifty running here, but man, if you ever wanted to get your running game on track, this would be it. All right, really the name of the game with this team right now is Rico Dowdle. So we're going to see Chuba Hubbard here, 30s in, and I think he's designated the starter, quote unquote, this week. But number 5 came in a couple weeks ago when Chuba was hurt. Had some I think 2 amazing football games. Last 2 weeks, I think he's got like 130 yards compared to 30 or 40 for Chuba. So he's a different kind of runner. He's just one of those hidden gems. Like, how did nobody find this guy kind of deal? But the other news is, and we don't know if Bryce Young's going to play or not as of making this film. Andy Dalton, Red Rifle, whatever it's called, Red Rocket is there. He did not have a good week last week. He can still drive the ball downfield. This is not a good way to start. And I think if you're the Packers, you put 5 up in the line of scrimmage and you just decide, hey, we're not gonna block Ed Oliver. I mean, let me just show you that this is Brady Christensen, who's a good football player, and this happens to every lineman. Happened to me way too many times. But I'm telling you, like, there's not a worse feeling in the world. It's early in the game, and either you don't move your foot or your center takes a big step. But one or another, right now you go, shit. Man, it's a bad way to start a football game. Did not get much better for them after that. All right, little passing play here with, we got a little early shotgun. We got trips to the left, and look, they've got McMillan, the first-round pick. They've got Leggett, who is, I think, a first-round pick last year. Super talented guy, best accent and maybe like locker room persona in the league right now. I love listening to his interviews, man. It's just a joy. Hunter Renfrow, 13, is still on this team, but he's really kind of the only vet. They've got young guys all over the room. Bryce Young's obviously a young football player, being the first pick in the draft last year. We don't know if he's going to play. Dalton can still throw it around a little bit. They can make some plays here if you get him into man coverage. They can separate. Leggett in particular has shown that he can separate in man coverage. So now we get into the interesting stuff, because the first 2 touches that this kid gets the football, you see the highlights and you start watching tape. It's like, well, how good is he? because the Panthers do run a lot of, I'm not going to call it gimmick stuff. They run a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage to get the ball out of their hands. I think they fancy themselves a running football team. They invested heavily with Ike Ekwonu, first maybe a top 5 or 6 pick in the draft a couple years ago. Christensen, Taylor Moton's been there for years. He's great. Cade Mays is there now. So they've got some dudes on the line that have been around the block and are good football players. I think they fancy themselves a downhill physical football team. Got a couple tight ends that they like to play, but this kid just hits the hole. He's slippery. He knows how to accelerate. Just great natural instinct. Again, it really is always cool to see players like this who kind of just they get traded, nobody even knows who they are, and then they pop off for 2 monster games, and then followed up really with a solid effort in the last couple. So here's his first 2 carries. You always going to see a lot of this tight end split flow stuff, whether it's 12 or 11 personnel. You see the double here by, this is just a duo for those at home. We're getting double teams. They're running that split flow action. Here across, get some eyeballs, but you can just see where the obvious hole is here as the safety has to fill. But, if I'm just critiquing this, like hip to hip, fantastic. They're getting pretty close to hip here. In a good position. Like we're in good square to line of scrimmage by 84, doing a great job, not giving these guys a lot of options, right? And really, if we've got this linebacker, is he going to shoot? If he's shooting here, like center's going to come off real easy there. It's not a hard block. So I think they're doing a good job of covering on that defensive tackle. I do think watching this tape that if you slant against them, I don't think their tight ends are able to recover to the second level. So what I mean by that is, I'll try to show it in another running play. If you slant, the tight ends will stay on track. They don't do a great job of getting to that next level. Here he is again. I think he's the real weapon on this football team right now, given that Bryce Young's out and doing what they're doing with their passing game. So they motioned Dowdle back into the backfield. They've already got their linebackers mugged up at the line of scrimmage in the A-gaps. It's kind of a weird deal. They got super wide. We're talking about the Bills now. But they're super wide. And then these guys are like, they're A-gap players, but usually you see the A-gap players like here, and they're super, it's really wide. But the Panthers do a great job of covering this up. And this Dowdle kid can run, man. Like, he's really good. Watch how they stick to their blocks and how they're trying to stay square to the line of scrimmage. Really focus on the left guard and the center here. I just think they do a great job. That 64, is that Cade Mays? He does a fantastic job here of hitting and then just sticking and running your feet, making a big play out of this. Gun, they got Chuba back in. I put this in here like, this is one of those plays where you're just trying to figure shit out, right? Like, how do we get them both on the field at the same time? Oh, I know. We'll go Wildcat. Here's the thing about Wildcat. Unless you're really practicing this, like, they're not handing this ball off at some mesh point because they don't want this guy. Hey, right now you're technically our backup running back. We're going to have you start reading the defensive end. Like, it's not happening. So nobody's biting on the fake here. Oh, man. All right, let's motion across here. We got Gunn. And you just see this is, Dalton's, it's just kind of day for him. So they got great pocket. They run the wheel up top and go up the gate here. And they're clear, man. Throw the ball. It's 50-50. And he's got that's a touchdown. And he just gets hot feet. And then I think it's Broussard pokes the ball out. This is the kind of stuff you're hoping for, man, with the effort that we get from our defensive ends, especially on the retrace stuff. You see these plays sometimes, and it's almost like you don't want to get too confident, but it just feels like it'd be, it feels like Dalton would be on the struggle bus against our pass rush. All right, we got a 2nd and 10 play out of empty. There's a guy up top you can't see. It's just off the screen. These guys look like they're almost playing like sticks. This is one of the craziest football plays you'll ever see, man. He actually bats it up, kicks it with his foot And, Dalton is just playing some bad ball. And, you never know. And he's supposed to jump up. And, they want Aquano to just run by him. But good Lord. I never seen anything like that. It's a goddamn shame he couldn't score, huh? And they're trying to run a lot of stuff up, behind the line of scrimmage. They want to get the running game going. And I think they found the guy here. I mean, and this is another interesting look where they're always trying to use that split flow look to get a little bit of eyeball. So they're running the toss crack, bringing him just down blocking around. I'm assuming for this guy, we got a stock block out here, and it helps because their safety rotation is away. Moten gets out there and makes a great play on the safety. Sorry, that's the alley player he actually gets to. I'm wrong. So, sometimes you make mistakes. And because this guy's he's got his eyes in here, he actually comes through. We got the center going up to the Mike linebacker. He just ends up taking both. So, Moten can get all the way out on the alley player here. That's why it turns into such a big play. Seven actually retraces later, gets handed off, slows the guy down. D-Taco makes a play, but these are good runs by what I think is a team that's trying to be physical at the offensive line position. I think this is Joey Bosa and Ike Ekwonu. Look, Ike's a really, really talented guy, super athletic player. He has a lot of lapses, and if you were breaking him down like how to beat him, he tries. He thinks he's like an old vet with some of his hand stuff. He'll try to bat your hand down, and he's got shit everywhere. Stand up and down, stand up tall. He's an explosive player. If he just set, like he's one of those guys that if he just set right every time, like he's probably not losing. But he wants to do all this hand stuff and start wiping away and gets himself high, and then you give up sacks like this, unnecessary. But if you're our guys and you're watching that, you go, okay, I think there's some opportunities there for sure. Moten's always been a good tackle. Bosa had another sack that they called off for I think a face mask or something, but he ends up they end up giving up another one. I think maybe it's right here. So they are susceptible, certainly on the outside for our pass rush game. One thing you notice when you watch this is the play here, but one thing you also notice is there is a good push to the pocket on the interior offensive line. 70s Christensen does a good job. I think that's Christensen does a good job of sitting down late, but you give up that initial charge, and Dalton got sacked on the second play of the game, so he's already kind of looking around. Where can I go? Where can I go? His eyes are off. There's no better coverage in the world than a great pass rush, because this guy's got leverage. We can see that potentially he's got some of the outside, but his eyes are just like, give me a place to hide right now. Sorry, ends up coming and making a play. So like I said, guys, we don't know if Bryce Young's going to play this week. It does make a big difference in the game. Andy Dalton didn't have a good week last week. He's obviously a veteran. There's a lot of things down. He can still drive the football down. They have guys that can separate. They have great players, but young players at the wide receiver positions. This is going to be a football team that wants to run the football, particularly with those two guys, Chuba Hubbard and now Rico Dowdle. I like what they're doing up front. You see that a lot of the double teams were scared of the line of scrimmage. They're just doing a lot of things right. It's just not quite there yet. But golly, 245 yards on the ground last week. Obviously, they're going to try to put up a better performance. But when you look at how they attack angles and just how guys get stuck to the block, if you ever had an opportunity to win at the 3 technique position, getting that reach block, moving those humans off the ball, expect a big game from our guards this week. And because of that, expect a big game for the running backs. This is going to be a fun one. Guys, thanks for watching the preview. I am your host, Mike Wahle. Hit me up, Mike Wahle68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. This show is on the Process to Perform channel on YouTube, also on Andy Herman's Pack-A-Day podcast. Shout out to those guys. Thanks for putting me on. Talk to you soon.